Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! In the dimly lit bedroom, the golden rays of dawn painted the wooden planks with subtle patterns. Near the mirror stood a hesitant silhouette, tugging at the hem of their tulle gown, hesitant and transfixed by their reflection. "Is this truly the path you wish to embark on?" The voice carried a hushed tone, carrying a blend of hesitation and anxiety. Inhaling slowly, the figure gathered their courage. "My heart assures me this is right." Gracefully, their partner, Maya, glided across the space separating them, her turquoise summer frock accentuating her walk. Reaching up, Maya's palm supported theirs, comforting and stilling their ringing fingers. "Looking at you now is like witnessing art in motion." Her grin carried a sincerity touching her eyes' corners. "However, would you care to disclose how you're truly feeling? The moment's magnitude must be overwhelming." Concealed beneath secrecy, the exquisite gown had only emerged in moments of solitude, gathering dust and longing, when not a single soul lingered inside the castle. The secret collection of dresses, blouses, and skirts had grown slowly, carefully curated over time. But today was different. Today, the carefully guarded private self would step into the light. "Terrified," came the honest reply. "But also free." Melissa handed over the brunette wig, new, purchased specifically for this occasion. It fell in soft waves just past the shoulders, the color a rich chocolate brown that caught the light with subtle highlights. "Remember, you don't have to do this if you're not ready. We can call it off. Say you're sick." The wig settled into place, transformed the reflection instantly. Brown locks framed a face where stubble had been meticulously removed, where foundation now smoothed the skin, where subtle contouring had softened the jawline. "No, I need to know, Melissa. I need to see if I pass, if others see what I see when I look in the mirror." The white cardigan came next, then the delicate silver necklace with its small pendant, each element adding another layer to the transformation, building the exterior that matched the interior truth that had been hidden for so long. "Your family has met me so many times as Lennox. If anyone would notice, it would be them." Melissa nodded, understanding the test this represented. "That's why it's perfect. If they don't recognize you as Lila, then—" She didn't finish the thought. She didn't need to. The kitten heels added the final touch. Modest, appropriate for a family gathering, nothing that would draw undue attention. Practical enough to navigate the backyard barbecue that awaited them. A final look in the mirror. It wasn't just clothes and makeup and a wig. It was a revelation. The person reflected there wasn't Lennox playing dress-up. It was Lila, finally embodied. "How do you feel?" Melissa asked, standing beside the transformed figure. "Like myself." The voice was soft, practiced to a higher register without sounding artificial. "For the first time in public, I'll be myself." The car ride to Melissa's parents' suburban home stretched with nervous silence. Knuckles whitened around the passenger door handle with each turn. "Remember," Melissa said, as they pulled into the driveway where several cars already lined the curb. "You're my friend from work. We've practiced this." A nod. A deep breath. The door opened. The backyard buzzed with familiar voices. Melissa's brother tended the grill. Her father arranged chairs. Her mother directed traffic between the kitchen and patio tables laden with food. Nieces and nephews chased each other across the lawn, while aunts and uncles clustered in conversation circles. Melissa entered first, calling greetings, receiving hugs, and then, with a gentle hand, she guided her companion forward. "Everyone, this is my friend from work, Lila. She's new to the area, so I thought it would be nice to include her today." The moment crystallized, suspended between breath and heartbeat. Eyes turned, scanning the newcomer in the navy blue dress. Would recognition dawn? Would someone see through the careful construction to the person they'd known as Lennox? "Well, it's lovely to meet you, Lila." Melissa's mother stepped forward, extending a hand in welcome. Any friend of Melissa's is always welcome here. One by one, they approached. The father-in-law with his firm handshake, the sister-in-law with questions about work, the nieces curious about the pretty lady's shoes. Each interaction passed without a flicker of recognition. Each conversation flowed naturally as Lila answered questions about her fictional background, carefully constructed to avoid contradicting what they knew of Lennox. "Where's your husband today, dear?" Melissa's aunt inquired during a lull in conversation. Melissa smoothly interceded. "Oh, Lennox sends his apologies. He's down with that awful summer flu that's been going around." "Such a shame. Tell him we missed him." The irony of the statement sent a private thrill through Lila. They were missing someone who stood right before them, unseen yet fully present. As the afternoon progressed, the initial tension melted away. Lila found herself engaged in genuine conversation about books with Melissa's father, discussing recipes with her mother, even holding Melissa's infant nephew when his mother needed a break. The feeling was indescribable, interacting with these familiar people as her authentic self, being accepted without question. During a moment alone by the dessert table, Melissa sidled up, keeping her voice low. "You're doing amazingly. Nobody suspects a thing." "I can hardly believe it," Lila whispered back, carefully selecting a brownie with delicate fingers. Nails painted a subtle pink. "I've sat across Thanksgiving dinner from your brother 3 times, and he's telling me about his job like we've never met. Because in his mind, you haven't." Melissa squeezed her hand briefly. "How does it feel?" The question required no thought. "Like breathing fresh air after being underwater." The sun began its descent, casting golden light across the gathering. As guests began to depart, each offered warm goodbyes to Lila, several expressing hopes to see her again soon. Melissa's mother pressed leftovers into her hands, patting her arm affectionately. "You must come back, dear. It's been wonderful having you." The drive home passed in reflective silence until they pulled into their driveway. "They liked you," Melissa said simply. "The real you." Inside their bedroom, Lila stood before the same mirror where the day had begun. The dress still hung perfectly, the brown hair still framed her face, the makeup remained intact. But something fundamental had shifted. "I don't want to take it off," she finally said, voice breaking slightly. "I don't want to go back to pretending." Melissa moved behind her, arms encircling her waist, chin resting on her shoulder as they both gazed at the reflection. "Then don't." "What do you mean?" "I mean, maybe it's time to stop hiding. Today proved something important. You're not just playing dress-up. You're expressing who you truly are. And people respond to that authenticity, even if they don't know the journey behind it." Lila turned, brown hair swishing softly with the movement. "Are you saying what I think you're saying?" "I'm saying I love you. The whole you. And I want you to be happy. Even if that means Lennox doesn't come back? Melissa touched her cheek gently. I married a person, not a gender. I fell in love with your kindness, your humor, your mind. Those things haven't changed. If Lila is who you truly are, then I want to know her fully. The tears came then. Careful makeup tracks ruining down cheeks, shoulders shaking with the release of decades of suppressed truth. I've always been Lila, she whispered. Inside, where it matters. I just never had the courage to let her out completely. Well, Melissa smiled, reaching for a tissue to dab at the mascara streaks. She's beautiful and brave, and I think it's about time the world got to meet her properly. The weeks that followed involved careful planning. The corporate job where Lennox worked as an accountant required consideration. Their circle of friends needed to be navigated. There were legal matters to address, medical consultations to schedule. But first came the conversation with Dr. Winters, a therapist specializing in gender identity. Her office featured comfortable chairs and soothing blue walls, credentials displayed discreetly alongside abstract art. So, tell me about your experience at the family gathering, Dr. Winters prompted, her notepad balanced on her knee. Lila, dressed today in dark slacks and a cream-colored blouse, her brown hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, leaned forward. It was like finally being seen. Even though they didn't know they were seeing the real me, I knew. For the first time, I was interacting with the world as my authentic self. And how did that differ from your private expressions of gender before? Those moments always felt temporary, like I was borrowing time, stealing moments. Her hands smoothed the fabric of her slacks. This was different. This was existence, not escape. Dr. Winters nodded. Many people describe a similar sensation, that distinction between expression as release versus expression as simply being. What steps are you considering now? Everything, Lila admitted. And it's overwhelming. My job, our friends, physical changes, legal documents. Sometimes I wake up panicking about all of it. That's entirely normal. Transition isn't a single event but a process, and each person's journey looks different. There's no correct timeline or required set of steps. The sessions continued weekly, providing structure and guidance as Lila began constructing the external framework for her long-held internal truth. Melissa attended some meetings, asking thoughtful questions about how to best support her spouse, while also processing her own complex emotions about the changes ahead. The workplace transition required careful planning. Lila's position as a senior accountant at a mid-sized firm meant regular client contact and established professional relationships. I've drafted an email, Lila explained to her direct supervisor, Hannah, during a private meeting. She'd chosen to have this initial conversation presenting as Lennox one final time, wearing a conservative suit that already felt like a costume. I'd like your input before it goes to the team. Hannah, a pragmatic woman in her 50s with decades of corporate experience, reviewed the document with professional detachment. This is well written, she commented. Clear, straightforward. HR has been consulted? Yes. They're prepared to handle any questions about company policy. The nervousness was evident despite attempts to project confidence. Hannah set the paper down, removed her reading glasses, and leaned back in her chair. You know, in 30 years of management, I've learned that good accountants are hard to find. Your gender doesn't affect your ability to reconcile financial statements or identify tax savings opportunities. Relief washed over Lila's face. That said, Hannah continued, there may be some adjustment within the team and potentially with clients. Not everyone responds to change with immediate acceptance. Are you prepared for that possibility? As much as anyone can be. I have support at home, professional guidance, and legal protections. A pause. But mostly I'm prepared because the alternative, continuing to live inauthentically, isn't sustainable anymore. Hannah nodded, seeming to appreciate the candor. The email goes out Monday. Take Tuesday to work from home, give people time to process, and then we'll welcome Lila to the office on Wednesday. I'll ensure security has an updated badge ready. The weekend before the workplace announcement stretched with anticipation. Lila and Melissa carefully reviewed her professional wardrobe. Conservative skirts and slacks, appropriate blouses, sensible shoes that could manage a full day of office wear. Are you nervous? Melissa asked, watching Lila try on different outfit combinations. Terrified, but also relieved. She smoothed down a charcoal pencil skirt, turning to check the fit. No more compartmentalizing my life. No more remembering which version of myself exists in which context. Sunday night, Melissa found her staring at her reflection, brown hair now styled in a professional bob, practicing subtle makeup application for the work week ahead. Second thoughts? Melissa asked, gently. No, just contemplating the magnitude. Lila set down the mascara wand. Tomorrow, Lennox officially disappears from the world. The name, the pronouns, the presentation, all of it becomes history. Not disappears, Melissa corrected softly. Transforms. Everything that made me fall in love with you remains. Your kindness, your analytical mind, your terrible puns, none of that changes. My terrible puns are legendary, thank you very much. See? Still the same person I married. Melissa wrapped her arms around her spouse's waist. Just happier now, I hope? Monday's email went out at 9 a.m., carefully crafted with input from HR, management, and Dr. Winters. By 9:30, Lila's inbox contained dozens of responses, most supportive, some awkwardly well-meaning, a few simply acknowledging receipt without personal comment. Working remotely on Tuesday provided necessary space to process the responses. One colleague's message stood out among the rest. I've never told anyone this, but my sister is transgender. Seeing your courage makes me proud to work here. Welcome, Lila. The accounting department just got better. Wednesday morning arrived with a knot of anxiety as Lila dressed in a carefully selected outfit, a navy blue skirt suit with a light blue blouse, neutral makeup enhancing her features, simple pearl earrings, and her brown hair styled professionally. The familiar weight of her wedding ring remained, now accompanied by a delicate bracelet Melissa had given her as a workplace transition gift. You look completely professional and completely yourself, Melissa affirmed, straightening Lila's collar before she headed out. Call me if you need anything. Anytime. The office building looked the same as it had for the past 8 years, but walking through its doors felt entirely new. Security had indeed prepared a new badge, presenting it without comment beyond a simple, "Good morning, Ms. Reynolds." The familiar path to the elevators, the familiar ride to the 4th floor, the familiar hall to the accounting department, all experienced through a new lens. Hannah met her at the department entrance. Ready? A deep breath. Ready. The accounting floor was already active with morning routines, coffee being poured, computers booting up, quiet conversations about weekend activities. Heads turned as Hannah led Lila to her desk, the same workspace she'd occupied for years, now featuring a small plant that hadn't been there before, and a new nameplate reading, Lila Reynolds, Senior Accountant. The team knows you'll be attending the 10 a.m. client meeting as scheduled, Hannah explained. Technical expertise remains the priority. If anyone has questions about your transition, they've been instructed to direct them to HR rather than burden you with them during the workday. The morning progressed with a strange mix of normalcy and newness. Colleagues stopped by, some awkward, some natural, all trying in their various ways to convey acceptance. The work itself remained unchanged. Spreadsheets, financial projections, tax implications, providing comforting familiarity amid the personal transformation. The client meeting proved to be the day's greatest challenge. Walking into the conference room where 3 representatives from a manufacturing company awaited, Lila momentarily froze when she recognized them as long-term accounts she'd handled as Lennox. Hannah smoothly took the lead. "Good morning, gentlemen. I believe you know most of our team already. This is Lila Reynolds, who will be taking point on your account going forward." Confusion flickered across their faces, clearly trying to place her within their mental roster of the accounting team. The oldest of the 3 clients, a man with salt and pepper hair who had worked with the firm for over a decade, studied her face for a long moment before understanding dawned in his eyes. To his credit, he simply extended his hand.
"Pleasure to meet you, Ms. Reynolds. Shall we get started on those quarterly projections?"
The meeting proceeded with professional focus on the financial matters at hand. If the clients had questions about the personnel change, they kept them private, following the lead of the eldest member in maintaining business decorum. When Lila returned to her desk afterward, a text from Melissa waited. "How's it going?" "Better than I expected," she typed back. Awkward moments, but mostly just work. "That's huge," came the reply. "Celebrate the ordinary. That's what you've wanted all along, to just be yourself in ordinary moments." The truth of those words resonated deeply. The extraordinary journey was, paradoxically, towards something profoundly ordinary, authenticity in everyday life. The workday ended, and Lila drove home with a strange sense of accomplishment. Not for any particular professional achievement, but for simply existing as herself in the world, answering emails, attending meetings, discussing projections, all as Lila. Melissa greeted her at the door with a small cake decorated with the simple message, "Congratulations on being yourself." "Is it silly to celebrate something as basic as going to work?" Lila asked, setting down her purse and kicking off her heels with relief. "Not at all. Today wasn't about work. Today was about integration, bringing your whole self into all aspects of your life." Melissa cut 2 slices of cake. That deserves celebration. As weeks passed, the initial awkwardness at work faded. Clients who had known Lennox made the adjustment with varying degrees of grace, but none withdrew their business. New clients never knew any different, meeting only Lila from the start. The broader social transition continued at its own pace. Some friends embraced the change immediately, some required time and education, a few drifted away. Family reactions spanned the spectrum from immediate acceptance to uncomfortable distance. "My brother wants to meet for coffee," Lila mentioned one evening, reading a text message with surprise. Her relationship with her older brother had been strained even before her transition, their communications infrequent and surface level for years. "That's unexpected," Melissa observed. "Are you going to go?" "I think I have to. He's family." The brown hair that had once been a wig was now growing out naturally, reaching past her shoulders, framing her face as she looked up from her phone. "But I'm not hiding anymore. If he wants to meet, he meets Layla." The coffee shop they selected offered neutral territory, a place neither had frequented before, minimizing complicated associations. Lila arrived first, selecting a table near the window, smoothing her green sweater dress nervously as she waited. She recognized him immediately when he entered, the familiar stance, the way he scanned the room. But he hesitated, gaze passing over her initially before returning. recognition dawning slowly.
I almost didn't recognize you,
he said after ordering his coffee, settling into the chair across from her. That's understandable. Her voice remained calm despite the inner tension.
It's been a significant change. Mom showed me pictures,
he admitted.
That's why I wanted to meet. They didn't look like disguise photos. They looked like you.
The observation surprised her with its perceptiveness.
That's because they are me. The most authentic version of me.
He nodded slowly, stirring his coffee, though he'd added nothing to it.
I've been doing some reading, trying to understand. I won't pretend it makes complete sense to me, but...
He paused, seeming to carefully choose his words.
You look happier than I remember seeing you in years.
The simple observation broke through some invisible barrier between them.
I am, she confirmed. Happier than I've ever been, despite all the complications. That counts for something.
He took a sip of his coffee.
So, do I call you sister now, instead of brother?
Yes, and Lila, not Lennox.
Lila,
he repeated, testing the name.
It suits you, actually.
The conversation progressed cautiously, but with growing ease. They spoke of their parents' mixed reactions, of his children who simply accepted that their uncle was now their aunt, without the adult complications of understanding, of the professional challenges and surprising moments of acceptance Lila had encountered. "Melissa's still with you through all this?" he asked eventually. "Every step. She's been incredible." He nodded, seeming to process this. "She always saw something special in you. I guess she still does." When they parted, he hesitated before offering an awkward hug, the first physical contact they'd shared in years.
"This is all new to me,"
he admitted.
"I might say the wrong things sometimes, but you're still family."
"That's all I ask," Lila replied. "Not perfect understanding, just basic acceptance." The seasons changed as Lila's transition continued both socially and physically. Hormone therapy brought gradual changes, softer skin, subtle shifts in facial features, emotional landscapes both familiar and new. Each medical appointment, each legal document updated, each social milestone represented another step in aligning her external reality with her internal truth. Winter arrived with holiday plans that included the first family gatherings where Lila would attend as herself, not as someone's friend from work, but as who she truly was. The prospect carried both anxiety and anticipation. "What if your parents don't accept me?" she asked Melissa as they prepared for Christmas Eve at her family's home, the same place where, months earlier, she had tested her appearance as Lila without anyone recognizing her. "They already know. We've talked about it extensively." Melissa zipped up the back of Lila's burgundy dress, a festive choice for the holiday gathering. "Mom had questions, Dad was quiet, but neither expressed rejection. They just need time to adjust their mental picture." "And what if they can't? Then we create our own holiday traditions." Melissa's resolution was clear. "But let's not borrow trouble. Take each interaction as it comes." The house looked different in winter. Christmas lights outlining the roof, a wreath on the door, the summer lawn now dormant under a light dusting of snow. The nervous tension as they approached was entirely different from the experimental thrill of the summer gathering. Melissa's mother opened the door, hesitating just briefly before offering a careful hug to Lila. "Welcome, dear. We're so glad you could join us." Inside, conversations quieted momentarily as they entered the living room where family had gathered. Melissa's father rose from his armchair, approaching with deliberate steps. "Well," he said, his voice gruff but not unkind. "You certainly gave us a surprise this year." "Dad," Melissa warned quietly. He waved off her concern. No, I'm just saying it's not every day you discover your son-in-law and your daughter's work friend are the same person." He extended his hand to Lila. "Takes courage to live truthfully. I respect that, even if I don't fully understand it." The simple statement of acceptance, however awkwardly delivered, broke the tension. Conversations resumed, holiday preparations continued, and throughout the evening, family members approached Lila individually, some with questions, some with simple affirmations, all with the fundamental recognition that the person before them was someone they had known for years, just seen now in full clarity. Melissa's young nephew, just 5 years old, provided perhaps the most uncomplicated response when he tugged on Lila's burgundy dress during dessert. "Are you still good at building Lego spaceships?" he asked earnestly. Lila knelt to his level. "Absolutely. The best spaceships in the galaxy." He nodded, satisfied. "Good. Because I got a new set for Christmas and I need help tomorrow." "It's a date," she promised, his simple acceptance the most profound gift of the evening. Later, as they prepared for bed in Melissa's childhood bedroom, converted now for guest use, Lila reflected on the day's events. "Your family was kinder than I expected." "They're trying," Melissa acknowledged, removing her earrings. "There were awkward moments, sure, but they're making an effort. That's something to build on." "Do you think they see me differently now? Not just physically, but as a person?" Melissa considered the question carefully. "I think they're beginning to see you more completely. The parts of you that were always present but hidden before. There's recognition dawning that this isn't something that happened to you suddenly, but something that's always been part of who you are." Outside, snow began falling more heavily, coating the world in transformative white. Lila moved to the window, watching the flakes descend in the glow of the outdoor Christmas lights. "I used to dream about this," she said softly. "Not just being accepted as a woman, but being included as family, as myself. Not pretending, not playing a role, just being." Melissa joined her at the window, wrapping her arms around her waist from behind. "And how does the reality compare to the dream?" "It's messier, more complicated, full of awkward moments and misunderstandings." She leaned back into the embrace. "But infinitely more satisfying because it's real." Spring brought new growth, both in nature and in Lila's journey. Her brown hair now reached the middle of her back, no longer requiring any supplementation. Her features had softened further with continued hormone therapy. Her confidence in navigating the world as herself strengthened daily. The anniversary of her public transition approached. 1 year since that pivotal family gathering where she had tested her appearance as Lila and discovered that authenticity was possible. To mark the occasion, Melissa suggested a small celebration with their closest friends and most supportive family members. "Nothing elaborate," she insisted. "Just an acknowledgement of how far you've come." The garden party they planned featured simple decorations, good food, and the people who had shown the most consistent support throughout the challenging year. Melissa's parents attended, still occasionally stumbling over pronouns, but genuine in their efforts. Lila's brother brought his children, who had adapted to their aunt with the easy flexibility of youth. Friends from various chapters of their lives mingled in the backyard, united by their care for the guest of honor. Lila wore a spring green dress that complemented her brown hair, now styled with natural waves that caught the afternoon sunlight. Moving through the gathering, accepting congratulations and well wishes, she found herself drawn into a conversation with her niece, now 12 and full of curiosity. "Were you always a girl inside?" the child asked with direct simplicity. "Even when we called you Uncle Lennox?" The question, lacking adult pretenses or complications, deserved an equally honest answer. "Yes, I just didn't have the courage to say so, or the words to explain it, even to myself for a long time." The girl considered this thoughtfully. "That sounds lonely." It was, sometimes. Lila touched the girl's shoulder gently. "But it doesn't have to be lonely for other people who feel the same way. That's why being open about my journey matters." Later, as the celebration wound down and guests began to depart, Melissa found Lila sitting alone on the garden bench, observing the remnants of the gathering with a pensive expression. "Penny for your thoughts?" Melissa settled beside her, their shoulders touching comfortably. "I was just thinking about that day a year ago, the family reunion where I first appeared as Lila. How terrified I was. How certain I was that someone would recognize me. And now? Now I realize nobody recognized me then because they'd never actually seen me before. Not the real me." She gestured toward the dispersing guests. "These people today, they know me, truly know me, perhaps for the first time." Melissa took her hand, fingers intertwining naturally. "What do you want for this next year?" Lila considered the question carefully. "To keep building this authentic life, to help others find their courage, and mostly to make ordinary memories as myself, holidays, anniversaries, work achievements, quiet evenings at home, all as the person I truly am." As twilight settled over the garden, casting long shadows and bathing everything in golden light, Lila looked toward the future with quiet confidence. The journey hadn't ended. In many ways, it continued daily with new challenges and discoveries, but the fundamental shift had occurred. The alignment of inner truth with outer expression, the integration of a life long compartmentalized, the freedom of authenticity. The navy blue dress with white polka dots hung preserved in her closet, a reminder of that first courageous step. But around it now hung many others, each representing another day lived truthfully, another memory created authentically, another moment of simply being Lila.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!